Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Earwax. It's Colin, and today we're going over my top 5 albums from 1982. 1982 was a banger of a year for music. Let me just start off saying that right up front. Yeah, this was. I don't want to say it was a difficult year for me to narrow down because some of my favorite albums of all time were released this year. Specifically, like some of my favorite punk albums of all time, and we're going to go through some of those. But yeah, just overall, this was a killer year for music. But again, it wasn't super difficult to narrow down my top 5, even necessarily like my honorable mentions. There's definitely a few that I am kind of bummed I don't get to talk about because there were so many albums that came out this year that were just absolutely incredible. But keep in mind, like again, like all of my other lists, these are just my personal favorites. So these are the 5 albums plus some honorable mentions that I've either been listening to like the longest, or I listen to the most frequently, or have had the biggest impact on my life. And yeah, I think that there's definitely an argument to be made that there are some albums I'm not going to talk about today that objectively should be on like a top 5 list. But again, this is a personal, just like my favorite album. So that's why, yeah, there's probably going to be some ones on here or not on here that some people might be a little upset about. But it's all in good fun, and I do truly believe that all the albums I'm talking about today deserve to be mentioned as among the best albums of this year. But before we get into the honorable mentions, if you could please comment, like, subscribe if you haven't yet. All that stuff helps out my channel a ton. And without further ado, let's talk about the first honorable mention. So my first honorable mention is going to be Pornography by The Cure. I love like the first few albums in The Cure's discography. I think that they're a great band. They're not one that I'm like incredibly obsessive with, which I feel like a lot of Cure fans are. But they're fantastic. Like they're undeniably one of the best bands of the '80s, one of the best goth rock bands of all time. And their early stuff in particular, I think, is really, really, really good. This album is, super underrated, I feel like, in their discography, which is ironic because it's so highly praised. But yeah, absolutely great album from The Cure. Just again, not one I listen to as much as the rest of these. That's why it's only an honorable mention. Next honorable mention is going to be Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden. Always got to give some love to Iron Maiden. My 12, 13-year-old brain could not get enough of them when I was listening to them a lot in middle school. And Number of the Beast is probably one of their best albums. It might be their best album. And I will always probably include them in like my at least my honorable mentions, at least for like their '80s run, just because those albums mean so much to me. But that being said, some of the ones I'm going to talk about definitely were more important to me as I got older. I started listening to a lot more frequently as I got older, and yeah, had a little bit more impact on my formative years. Next honorable mention is going to be Hex Induction Hour by The Fall. If you're not familiar with The Fall, like go listen to them. This album's a great place to start. They are just super like obscure and weird post-punk. Not obscure in the fact that like people don't know about them, because a lot of people do. Marky Smith, pretty like influential and famous musician for like this time in like the UK scene. But this album is just super like weird at points, but it's also incredibly groovy. It's so much fun. It's super dark at certain points too, and yeah, really, really just kind of a wild ride. And if you haven't listened to this one and you like sort of more, out there early '80s post punk, like definitely go check this one out. All right, with the honorable mentions out of the way, let's get into the top 5. So coming in at number 5 is going to be the self-titled debut from Bad Brains. This album is so goddamn good. Arguably one of the best punk albums of all time. I think I included it on my honorable mentions list for my favorite punk albums of all time. But if we're talking just like pure objectively the best punk albums of all time, this should be in the top 5. It's so groundbreaking. Like it's arguably undeniably one of the most influential like hardcore punk albums of all time, but they've got so many other elements in there. There's like some reggae fusion elements, there's like some funk elements. And yeah, it's just so well done with songs like Band in DC, Attitude, and Leaving Babylon. Like this is just such an incredible album. It is, if you are into punk music at all and you haven't listened to this album, you need to go check it out. But I would like to assume, like to hope at this point, if you are a fan of punk, you not only have listened to this album, but have listened to it many times. And yeah, it's absolutely incredible. I'm sure there are people that would probably put this higher than number 5, but for me, again, the 4 albums that come after it, just ones that I listen to a little bit more frequently, but still an absolutely incredible pick. Speaking of some of the best punk music of all time, coming in at number 4 is going to be Misfits' official debut in Walk Among Us. Walk Among Us was like the first Misfits album I ever got on vinyl. It was, I don't know if it was the first album of theirs like I heard front to back, but definitely I feel like some of the early songs that got me into Misfits were off this album, in like Skulls and Mommy Can I Go Out and Kill Tonight, Night of the Living Dead. Like there's definitely a lot of iconic bangers on this album. Very famously, this technically was recorded after like Static Age and that, but it didn't release until later. So this is like their debut album. But yeah, this is just a fantastic album. It's heavy, it's in your face, it's blueprint for horror punk, which is like one of my favorite genres of punk. And yeah, I don't think I can speak the praises of this album enough. Again, I'm sure there's people out there that think I'm absolutely insane putting this over Bad Brains, but again, this one I've just been listening to longer. I've loved it longer. But Bad Brains still absolutely fantastic. Misfits though will always hold a very special place in my heart. All right, coming in at number 3 is going to be, in my opinion, arguably one of the best new wave albums of all time, and that is English Settlement by XTC. I absolutely love XTC. This has probably one of their best songs in Senses Working Overtime. We've got songs like Melt the Guns, Jason and the Argonauts. Like it's so goddamn good. I was re-listening to this for the first time in probably about a year or so, just because I listen to so much music, but was realizing that it had been too long. Like this is one that probably deserves a re-listen at least once a year. It's a fairly long album. It's pretty hefty, but God, it's worth the listen. It's worth the dive. If you like new wave stuff, if you like some more of the sort of like indie pop that was really sort of forming around the early 80s, like you can't get much better than this. There's some just absolutely like incredible moments of production and songwriting. And yeah, it's a beautiful album. So if you haven't listened to this one, definitely go check it out. Coming in at number 3, English Settlement. All right, coming in at number 2 as my second favorite album from 1982 is going to be Milo Goes to College from Descendants. Yeah, this is arguably one of the best punk albums of all time, in my opinion. It just like it represents the Southern California like hardcore scene so well at that time, while also essentially laying like the groundwork for what would become pop punk. I think there's an argument to be made this is one of the first pop punk albums. And yeah, if you haven't listened to this album, like go check it out. Milo Goes to College is probably one of the most influential like punk albums of all time. You can hear its influence in every major pop punk band from the 90s. A lot of the more sort of like melodic hardcore stuff that would come out after this, they owe a lot to this album. You've got songs like I'm Not a Punk, Suburban Home, and Hope, which is arguably one of the best songs ever written. Yeah, it's just the level of like melody and aggression they're able to reach on this album is so impressive. Like it's hard to do that well, and they just absolutely nail it here. This is also in my top 5 punk albums of all time. But yeah, if you for whatever reason haven't heard this album, like go fucking listen to it. It's so goddamn good. Milo Goes to College, Descendants, number 2, easy pick. English in quotation. And my all-time favorite album from 1982 is going to be Combat Rock by The Clash. Now, this, in my opinion, is not a punk album. Obviously the Clash, one of the most influential famous punk bands of all time, but by this point in their career they were really moving more towards like a little bit of post punk, a little bit of new wave. They're just like some straight up pop on this record. There's like some reggae influence as well, but yeah, I this is a killer album. Like whatever the hell you want to classify it as, whatever one you call it, this is my favorite Clash album. Obviously, you know, London Calling has its place, and I think there's an easy argument to be made that London Calling is objectively their best album, but I love Combat Rock. I love how weird it gets in some points with songs like Know Your Rights and Straight to Hell. But obviously, you've got some bangers on here like Should I Stay or Should I Go, Rock the Casbah. Like it's just a killer album. It sure there are arguments to be made that it's overrated or there are certain songs that are overplayed. I don't agree with any of that. I think that this is one of the best just like rock records ever written. I think that the level of songwriting they achieved on this, still, you know, being very true to themselves, but achieving some like widespread commercial success as well. And yeah, clearly, you know, there's songs on this album that have withstood the test of time over and over and over and over again. And it's an absolutely incredible album. Probably one of my favorite albums overall of the 80s. And yeah, I think that it's well deserved of the years and years and years of praise that it's received.
Go straight to hell, boy.
All right, guys, so that's going to be it for me. Those are my top 5 albums of 1982. Let me know down in the comments what your top 5 albums are of the year. If you've got some that didn't make my list, and I, you know, haven't listened to them, I'll definitely try and check them out. But I feel pretty confident in my 80s music knowledge up and at this point in my life. It's probably one of my favorite decades just overall for music. And there's some fantastic music that came out this year that did not make my list. So with all that being said, thanks so much for watching. And as always, I will talk to y'all later. Peace.